Welcome back to the channel, folks, and it is time again to buckle up, because this is the story of yet another step Canada is taking to cut strings with the US. And it starts right here on our beautiful West Coast. So today I'm pulling back the curtain and not only to tell you the whatabouts, but even more so how this project will benefit Canada as a whole. And at the same time, hurting the US economy big. First, the tariff trigger. August 19th is D-Day. The orange moron is slapping a devastating 50% tariffs on $20 billion worth of Canadian goods. And get this, even stuff covered by Kushmar is affected. But what has August 19 to do with our project? Second, the Canadian solution. Here's the beauty. We are not sitting around crying about it. Prime Minister Mark Carney and his team just dropped a massive $10 billion trade expansion project that's a total game changer to our sovereignty. Third, the American fallout. And here's the part the orange idiots administration did not see coming. This expansion is going to hit the US economy right where it hurts. We are talking about shipping volumes diverted away from American ports, higher costs for US factories, and a northern bypass. They can't do anything about it. And fourth, the big win. This again is one of Canada's moments. Get this, we are building our own express gateway to Asia, creating tens of thousands of union jobs, partnering with indigenous communities, and telling the American, respectfully, of course, that we don't need them anymore like we used to. All right, let's start with what has lit a fire under the whole project. The Trump's assembly of idiots has declared economic war on us. Well, we all know that. And just recently, Trump signed a Section 338 proclamation that slapped 50% tariffs on $20 billion worth of Canadian goods. Dairy, motor vehicles, alcohol, you name it. And here's the kicker. Even goods that comply with the free trade agreement are getting hit. That's right. Our free trade agreement, Kushmar, Trump just ignores it now. But get this, over 36% of Canadian exports rely entirely on asphalt roads and trucks. You know what that means? Those goods can literally only go to US markets. We painted ourselves in a corner. But Mark Carney is going to change that. His team fast-tracked the Vancouver, BC Robert Bank Terminal 2 expansion. It bypasses bureaucratic roadblocks with national interest status under Carney's Building Canada Act. Here's the reality. Water carries 54% of our non-US global exports. So we are doubling down on what works. Less reliance on roads, but more marine capacity means less US shackles. Now, some folks out east might think, why would I care about a port in BC? Let me tell you why. Because it's a national project. Full stop. The Port of Vancouver handles $1 billion in cargo every single day. It moves more cargo than the next 5 largest Canadian ports combined. But here's the stat that really matters. This port handles $1 out of every $3 of Canadian goods traded outside of North America. So, that means it is not a BC port. It's Canada's port. When RBT2 has fully built, we are unlocking $100 billion in annual trade capacity and adding $3 billion to Canadian GDP every single year. That benefits Canadian from BC to Newfoundland, Labrador. We're talking about additional 17,000 full-time supply chain positions across the country. Logistic, rail, manufacturing jobs from coast to coast to coast. That means Ontario workers build rail cars, prairie farmers shipping grains, Quebec aerospace parts heading to Asia. Speaking of the prairies, Alberta, Saskatchewan and Manitoba are landlocked. They need this port like we need oxygen. Without it, their grains and potash can't reach global buyers. Here's another thing, the bottleneck. When our ports jam up, shipping costs skyrocket. And who pays for it? Every single Canadian buying groceries, clothes, and everyday goods. We already feel this every single day, don't we? Expanding capacity means lower prices for everyone. This part is personal to many of us. We are tired of being America's economic hostage. Right now, 75% of our exports go to the US. That's insane. We are literally working for them. We see every day how that makes us vulnerable to Washington. But here's the beauty of RBT2. It increases container capacity by 50%, creating the physical infrastructure to actually ship our goods to Asia and yes, even to Europe and beyond. We are talking direct access, no US transit fees, no American regulatory delay, no sitting at the mercy of an American pipeline and railway to get our own resources to the market. This is Carney's vision of strategic autonomy. We are building trade pacts with Indonesia, the UAE, the Philippines, and Asian countries. But without the appropriate port capacity to ship those goods, those deals would be just like Trump deals, completely worthless. The RBT2 project also pairs our national rail optimization to critical minerals and aerospace components, so they can bypass US supply chains entirely if cross-border frictions can't be resolved. And here's the environmental side that often gets overlooked. We are not just slapping down concrete. Hundreds of millions of dollars are allocated for protecting marine life, including southern resident killer whales and salmon habitats. 27 First Nations have signed mutual beneficial agreement ensuring indigenous stewardship of this project right from the start. Now, I've been careful to say we are not in the business of ruining the US economy. We are in the business of building our own independence. But the US will feel this, without a doubt. And you know what? That is not our problem. Major US West Coast ports like Seattle, Tacoma, and LA Long Beach compete for international shipping traffic designed for the North American interior. A modernized Vancouver gateway literally eats their market share. We can get goods into the US Midwest faster and cheaper than any American port. Here's a stat that will blow your mind. Ships sailing from Vancouver to Asia arrive 2 to 3 days earlier than those from California. Combined with rail cargo service, that cargo moves in 24 to 48 hours versus days of American congestions. Shippers are already migrating to Canada. For years, when Canada faced pipeline bottlenecks, resource companies were forced to sell heavy crude and raw materials to US buyers for a steep discount. Giving Canada an alternative exit point shrinks the reliance on the US. American refineries will have to source materials at fair market rates, no more discounts. Our supply chains are deeply integrated with the US, auto, aerospace, you name it. By diverting our supply chain towards Asia, US factories will face supply shortfall or be forced to retool their entire supply lines. Data from Sea Intelligence confirms a structural cargo migration to Canada. Overall, West Coast imports volumes fell, but Vancouver's surged by almost 10%, while Seattle, Tacoma dropped 18%. This expansion locks into that shift permanently. So my friends, here's the bottom line. If the Orange Conman does not tackle, then August 19th, is our wake-up call. The orange fascist gangster is pushing us. And instead of backing down, we are building bigger. The Port of Vancouver expansion is our declaration of economic independence. It's a $10 billion investment in Canadian grid. It's 17,000 new jobs, $100 billion in trade capacity. It's indigenous partnership and environmental stewardships working together. And yes, it's finally telling the Americans that we don't need them anymore like we used to. The world is looking for reliable strategic partners. And Canada, we are stepping up. We have the resources, we have the infrastructure, and we have the determination to use it. This is nation building, plain and simple. So here's my question for you, my friends. How do you feel of developing closer trade ties with Asia, especially China? If this video gave you value, please click the like button and subscribe. Because the next Canadian story is already in the making. Thanks for watching. I'm Wilfried Lemkler with Europe Curious, where we don't just repeat the daily headlines, but open the curtain so you can see for yourself what's really behind it. See you in the next one.